So, like I said, Superjova is the founder and the head developer, or maybe just the developer for ChairLeague.com. ChairLeague is
CEO.
we'll call him the CEO, president, founder, everything for
There you
ChairLeague.com.
go.
So Chair League is one of the big reasons that we've got this podcast together in the first place. That's the way we've talked about it in the past. The way I met Shiz. Shiz was on my team last season, but he ditched us for greener pastures last year to join Mystic's team, Mystic and Liquid, who was our guest last week. But little known fact, Shiz used to be on Superjova's team in season 1.
Yes.
Isn't that right, Superjova?
Yeah, it's true. ID number 1. He was there. He was there at the beginning. I think that was like December 15th of last year, I think, when that team formed.
Yes,
so
it was.
That's an old school
We
team.
go way back. The history's there.
So Shiz, our aspiring competitive scene player, is doing the typical thing and fishing around teams. He got kicked off of Superjova's team, got kicked off of my team.
Yeah.
Is he going to be Yeah, well, okay. I guess kicked off's a little strong. He left us for greener pastures.
That feature didn't exist yet, so he willingly left.
Oh, that comes next season, huh?
So Superjova, tell us a bit more about Chair League in general. I mean, we've given a bit of an intro, but like, what is Chair League all about?
Yeah, so Chair League's a place where everybody of any skill level can hop on in, find a team, join a team, create a team, whatever you want to do. You have the freedom to do it. It's for everybody who wants to play just a weekly Heroes of the Storm game or match or series or whatever you're really feeling like you're doing. What's unique about it is it's 5 days a week and people can set what their time is. Like, oh, I'm an Eastern team. I get home early relatively in the United States, or I'm a Pacific team. We get home later. And the problem that I first had to figure out was how would an Eastern team versus a Pacific team, and what would that look like? So Chair League lets everybody of every skill level, of everywhere where they live in the United States and I guess Canada, and there are even like teams from Mexico, and it's, I guess, anywhere in North America, allows you to come together and play weekly matches and meet people and all that. And it kind of just came from the idea of, I think we're getting thrown so many quick match buttons now, and we kind of lose that community of, like, I used to run around in an open world and meet people. And so this is kind of bringing that open world back to a game like Heroes of the Storm that doesn't have a world where you can run around in.
Yeah, and it's a great community that you've got there too. One thing I'll say for sure is it's like on the amateur scene, we've all got lives outside of Heroes. We're not paid athletes, paid esports like competitors here. So it's nice being able to have that kind of flexibility in scheduling and such too. It makes it possible for people who have full-time jobs, have kids, to be able to schedule around their own schedule and still get that kind of competitive atmosphere, that we see on the weekends at all the tournaments and everything, kind of take part in what we like to play, like what we like to do in a more competitive environment that you can get in even like a team league or hero league in the actual game client itself. So I think it's pretty cool too. Like I've been on our team for the last 2 years, or sorry, not the last 2 years, last 2 seasons.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I know, 2 years. I keep calling it years. In my head, a year's a season, but the seasons aren't.
It feels like each season's a year.
Oh god, when Shiz is on your team, it feels like 8.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing to have a year-long season?
It's a both, but I mean,
if you gel together, I think it'd be good, right? 'Cause you got that synergy.
Yeah. Well, every time the playoffs come around. I'm always disappointed. Like, oh no, the season's over. Like, we never make the playoffs. So I'm like, oh great, and I gotta sit here and wait for the playoffs to be finished. And everyone's always so disappointed, right? We always want to be playing every week, no matter what. So
yeah, you have to sit around and wait till I can schedule the next season. Really, That's what you're waiting for.
So when is the next season? Do you have any sort of plans for it yet?
Well, I haven't sat down and looked at it yet, because what I did wrong. So Chair League's about to be 1 year old, I think, sometime in December. I don't actually remember. I can go look back at all of my logs and when was it when did it first get created, which I think was like December 4th. So I think it's coming up. But then it didn't launch until January 11th, which was the first season ever. And what I didn't do last time is I didn't plan all the seasons ahead. Well, it was hard because you didn't know if would season 1 be a success? Why would you plan season 2 if you didn't know season 1 would be a success or whatnot? So never did that. And what happened, as we experienced in season 3, was BlizzCon happened the first week of the playoffs. And, that was kind of like a sour thing, I think, in everybody's mouth, a sour taste. And it was even in my mouth a little bit too, where I didn't really feel right with that. I feel like some people might not have competed as well as they want to. So before I can schedule this next season, I want to look at how many seasons do I want to have per year, which I'm leaning towards 2, because I want to do a little bit more than just having the seasons and the league play. I want to break it off into more about, the league is drawn out over a longer period of time and there's breaks in between, and maybe it breaks around the holiday weeks, and around those holiday weeks over the weekend there's a big tournament. And that's kind of where I want to take it more. So we might see that 2 season a year strategy come forward with Chair League. And so the next season might start in January or might start in February. I just have to look at what fits the roadmap better. So no set date there yet. And you can already see on the website, there's a bunch of forum posts of people asking, how do I sign up? I've gotten emails, how do I sign up for the next season? And I just haven't scheduled it yet. And that's where that confusion's happening.
Well, I've got no doubt until an actual date is announced, you're going to be inundated with emails, forum posts, and everything being like, when's it starting? When's it starting? And that's just the nature of the internet. And it's great, too, because that means that people love what you're doing, too. And it is something that's very much appreciated throughout the community. I found out about Cheer League through another podcast, listening to it. I was like, what's this Cheer League stuff? So I looked it up, and I thought it was a great idea. So that's when I started my team out. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
I was there from the beginning on the first Reddit thread.
Is that how you found out about it, through Reddit there?
That's how I Reddit. Good old Reddit.
Yeah, that was
Superjova posted and said, hey, I'm creating a league. And I was like, this seems legit. Let's go try it out. Let's see if there's some teams I can join. And lo and behold, I joined. Yeah. Who's this wooden chair team? This guy seems legit. His name's Superjova. Had no idea who he was at the time. And yeah, that's where I got my start.
And what's up with his chair obsession?
Yeah. Wooden chair, yeah.
I'm impressed you got chairleague.com. Like, to be honest with you, most combinations of 2 words seem to be taken these days. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm a domain connoisseur. I collect only the finest of domains.
Has this one been sitting in the cellar for a few years?
No, I actually, that one was probably 2 days of research, because I'm like I'm very specific, and I want a specific sound, and I want a specific character to something I'm creating. And with I was coming up with things like, what were some of the terrible names that I came up with, but luckily were taken, or we'd be playing in like Squad League or something like that. It was some really bad names, or Hot Squad, or it was. People make fun of Chair League and they think it's a lame name, but I love the name, and
I actually like it. It fits.
I like it too.
It really does fit.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps it soft, and that's what's important, because some people take it to the highest level, but maybe if you take it to a level that Chair League can't give to you anyways, like maybe you belong somewhere else. And luckily we have HGC, where people who want to be the most competitive people in the entire universe, they can go and play there and compete there and get paid to be there.
Yeah, well, we've seen some pretty big names playing in Chair League as well. Some ex-pro players and people who are aspiring to be pros too. There's some pretty high-level play, as well as low-level play, as exhibition by myself and my team.
Exhibit A over here.
Down division.
Our left panel.
Down in don't make the playoffs in Division 3, but yeah.
I think it's interesting, the amount and variety of users. And one thing I would just love to put out there is, I mean, Shiz has been playing for 11 months. Are there people who haven't, let's say me, for example, when I played League of Legends or something, I probably played for like 2 months straight. And then after a while, nothing gave me a reason to stay. They're still releasing new characters. They're doing everything Blizzard's doing, all that stuff. But there was no real reason for me to continue and play. Here, I started playing Heroes of the Storm because my friends were playing it. But when they left, I still had Chair League to keep me enjoying the game and keep playing and keep giving me like that new carrot to chase. And I should run a statistic how many people have played for 11 months, and can we do 11 more months? And are we coming up with new ways to keep people engaged in a video game and keeping a video game's health, pretty high?
I want that shirt. That's my carrot stick. Yeah.
Yeah, before we started the show off camera, we saw a big pile of the shirts just lying on the ground. I think it was just taunting Shiz.
I want that shirt. I wanted to say, and then Shiz right below it,
We have piles of shirts over here. just wait for you guys to have.
When you go to bed at night, do you just like scatter them all about your bed and just like sleep in those shirts?
That is my bed. I had to sell my bed to keep Chair League running. So I just did like a little trade. I was like, who wants a bed for t-shirts?
Sold your soul to the devil.
Yeah, a lot of people out there want beds for t-shirts. So
yeah, I mean, Chair League's been growing in leaps and bounds, and I can't believe it's only a year old. That surprises me, considering how popular and how much of like a name brand it is throughout the Heroes of the Storm community. Like, it really does seem like everyone knows about it, right? Yeah, like she said, you got to shout out at BlizzCon too. That's an impressive feat in itself. So getting started, like, when do you realize you were onto something? When did you realize this is more than just maybe like a pet project you were just trying to like get off the ground?
Yeah, so that's going to go back all the way to the first post, right? So I was sitting around with my friends and we were playing this game, but I was quickly feeling like I'm at this wall. Like I felt like my monitor was a wall, and if I didn't play with my friends, how would I go and meet the next guy to play with? I mean, you don't have all chat, which I thought is crazy for a game, and so you can't really. The community is always stopping you from growing organically, and so I was like, oh, and then I just quit a job or something like that a year before, where they had it was like a startup community where startups would play on Venice Beach in this like paddle ball or whatever you call it. It's like little mini tennis on the boardwalk, and I was like, okay, so there's that. Then I remembered my company I used to work at. They did a beer league softball, and I was just like, well, where is that for video games? Like, that's something that we're missing. So I gathered up the 4 group of friends, and we're just like, hey, let's get this going. Would you guys play if I got it started? And I wrote a really emotional piece. I'm sure we can find it up there. Just being like, where are the days where I met all these different people? Like, I still have friends from back when gaming was open, and I still talk to them, but I've made no new friends as far as like just playing the game and organically finding new people to connect with. And so I wrote a very long, my first Reddit post ever was so long. And I even remember my friend was like, you got to put a TLDR on there, otherwise everyone's going to flame you. And I was like, I don't even know what that is. Put one on quick. So we put that on there. And within 30 minutes, the first person that I didn't know joined the website. And I was just like ecstatic. And I remember, like, I picked up, like, my girlfriend. I just started throwing her up in the air. She hit the ceiling, got knocked out. I wasn't really worried about it. We got a new user. So that was the moment and I've created applications before, like little e-commerce websites or something like that, and they wouldn't get any traction outside of people who I asked to go check it out. So to me, this one user meant a lot to me, and that gave me the inspiration to keep on going, because it was someone I didn't know who really actually thought they could participate in. And it was such a basic idea at that point too. It was just sign up, join a team, or that was it. Like, you created a team and you asked to join a team. It was a very simple idea. There was no league even there, but the idea was known to people. Like, oh, well, if you join January 11th, there's going to be a league. And I think before January 11th, which would be the first day of the league started, I think we already had 70 teams signed up, and I was going crazy. I was just like, I love this. This is amazing. This is what I wanted for. And as that carried through, I think that season ended with 130 teams playing, and I was excited to see how many can we get to inside of Chair League. Yeah,
and I guess with growth comes growing pains too. Like, was this? It sounds like it was probably exceeding your expectations. Like, it almost sounds like you weren't necessarily even expecting it to take off, like, in any capacity, let alone becoming so successful. Like, were there a lot of growing pains from, like, maybe scheduling or even just like handling this traffic and this interest that you were suddenly getting?
Yeah, so you're hitting the nail on the head. 3 different nails, just knocked them real quick in. The first one was scheduling. I know I covered that earlier. Was I was like, oh man, there's 4 or 5 time zones in the United States. What happens when they verse here and they verse here and they verse here? Luckily, at that time, Chair League, I didn't know if it'd be a big deal or not. I just had Mondays and Thursdays, and that was the time when, you picked. You didn't get to pick if you wanted to play Monday or Thursday. You just picked a time. You decided, well, I'm down to play later in the evening, or I'm down to play earlier in the evening, and you would get scheduled based on that. And there's like these it was kind of cool because like I went to school for computer science and they taught you algorithms the whole time. And this was the first time I got to like use that knowledge, and I actually wrote an algorithm to schedule all these people. And so I was super excited about that. And after that was covered, that was one of my biggest headaches. But then a second one came up, which was, now I can schedule all these people, but now the viewership is tough because most people would like to play at 7 PST because that's kind of like the halfway point throughout the night. So most people are likely to play at that time. So I had to write something to kind of even out the bottleneck. If you could imagine a bell curve, well, the idea is to get scheduling as flat as you can, where you would have, six matches every hour so that people can watch all of them. And so that was another tough one that I solved, maybe not perfectly, but enough that you don't notice that there's like 20 matches at 7 p.m. that you want to watch. But the hardest problem that I had to solve was casting, because I went into it going, I think every match should be casted because that helps with the community, that helps with people getting exposure, that helps with the fun, and it also brings that level of competitiveness where you didn't, if you're just playing and it's you 5 versus another 5 and no one's watching, and maybe nobody is watching, but you do have a caster now in Cherry League, right? That adds something to it where you feel like this is real and you feel like you're a part of something, and that's something you just can't get in a team league, and so that's something Cherry League brings to the table. But what's so hard about that is there were at some point, in season 1 and 2, there were about 75 matches per week, which means, a give and take 40 casters needed to be available to at least cover that range. And in season 2, that was the hardest thing about my life, actually, because I'd have to cast 5 games in a row every night, as well as continue managing and building the league. And it got to a point where I didn't want to wake up in the morning, and I didn't want to continue Cherry League. And it sounds funny, and it is funny to look back to, but I mean, it was like depression. I just couldn't believe how much Cherry League like consumed my life, and that's when I allowed anybody to become a caster, and that not all games will be casted. And that's where now we have this casting self-service type of thing, and your match might not get casted. And that saved my life, because that was the hardest thing about Cherry League, was this bottleneck of casters, and my game's not officiated, what do I do? And so you just had to build all like the self-service things into Cherry League, and now every game is casted either way, which is so weird.
Yeah.
I put zero effort into that part of the website besides building those tools, and every piece of every game is pretty much
Everything
casted.
everything fell in its place.
Well, your solution was elegant, right? Because it reduced the stress from you, and you still had the same end result, I guess, with most of the matches being cast. Because I remember you put out that post. I remember when it came in the middle of season 2, saying like, listen, like the casters are just like overworked. We got to do something to change this. It's going to be that not every game is cast. And I remember being like, that makes sense. I thought it was nuts when I first heard. I was like, every game's getting cast. How many casters like are out there that are willing to do this? But apparently there are plenty.
Apparently a lot.
Apparently a lot.
200 casters right now.
Yeah,
but
anytime.
I don't know.
Yeah, anytime we've got a game scheduled, I'll look in the inbox and I'll be like, oh, we got like 5 people asking to cast the game. I usually end up getting my buddy Liquid to do it because he's one of the casters and such in the league, and he does a great job. But it's just amazing how like little of a shortage there is for casters, or seemingly so. So you've sparked not only the beer league, like the player side of it, but you've also sparked the casting side too, which is interesting because now a lot of like aspiring like Twitch streamers, I notice, are also starting to do this too, and promoting their Twitch stream and doing the casting side of things like along as part of their stream too. So that's a kind of a neat like little side effect. I'm not sure if that was intended at first. It seems like it might have been like a happy byproduct.
Yeah, it definitely was not planned. It wasn't planned to make. So the thing I want to do and still want to do is make stars out of the gamers themselves. But what actually ends up happening is that the casters are the stars, and that's something I figured out pretty early on, is that the casters are the stars. And we got lucky that Haloran and Cavalier Guest and a couple other like Synth Paradox and New Type, and like we have these stars brewing out of Chair League, and it's pretty amazing because it's the community watching them and the community supporting them. So they're the ones who actually become the stars out of the application, like Chair League or something like that. And that wasn't planned. It wasn't even expected, but it's actually pretty cool because that is like a life cycle of viewers if you think about it. Because when you make the casters, the caster comes up from Chair League and
They make the players.
and then they grow a following, but where does that following come back to but through the Chair League funnel when they cast another game? So it's really like like the life cycle of like the rain, right? It goes up and comes back down, and it goes up and comes back down. It's just cool because it just keeps building the community more and more, and if the more casters that come out of Chair League or come into Chair League, only benefits it.
For sure, and it's been a really cool product so far, and we like the whole community idea of everything. So we mentioned before that you got a bit of a shout out at BlizzCon. Pretty cool there. Have you had any sort of contact with Blizzard itself? I mean, you seem that it's like we mentioned off the top of the show, this is like the place for people to go to have like this amateur competitive scene. It's almost like a name brand within the community and everything after like just a short year. You'd imagine that there would be some kind of reaching out from Blizzard, or maybe you've reached out to them. Can you tell us about that at all?
Yeah, it's actually a very interesting subject, and it's one that does bother me even till today, and I do appreciate, and my comments are going to come off however you want to take them, whoever's listening, but I'm so grateful for a shout out at such a big event. That was awesome. I got to see the name up in lights, and I'm glad it came first in that order. But yeah, if one thing that does upset me is with such a shout out, you would expect that there was going to be some actual appreciation back to your league or your project. And from the last 11 months I've been doing Chair League, I've contacted Blizzard several times. I've emailed the top community manager asking for additional support. I've been in contact with a couple of the community managers. I've been asking, I want to do a holiday tournament, and I've been asking for a couple skins to give out, and they say there are no skins to give out. Yet I see people on Twitter just giving out skins all the time. I see people on Twitch giving out skins all the time. Where do you get those cards? You know what I mean? And I do feel not betrayed because we were never allies. We never signed an agreement. But I do feel a little disappointed that, here we're fighting battles out there. We're creating leagues. All of a sudden they're creating leagues, which is funny because no one connects that dot, but we've been doing it for 11 months. Not that it's an original concept, but we've been doing it for 11 months when they were just doing tournaments that lasted for 48 hours straight. And I don't know who has that kind of time to do that, but all of a sudden their minds switched to league format. And that's where I think that shout out came from. I'm going to be real and no filter. And I do think that shout out comes from like almost like a wink, like, hey, we see what you're doing. We liked it enough that we're going to do it too. And I'm just like, that's fine. You guys can go off and run that as far as you want. And roster apocalypse happens in Chair League, happens in everything. It's going to be the same thing over the next 6 months. So it's a really big battle, and I hope it works out for them because it only can benefit Chair League as well. But yeah, in the end of the day, I'm just a little disappointed that there are all these, huge community projects out there that don't get any love, and maybe we're supposed to do it on our own. I've only been doing it on my own with the help of 2 other guys that work with me to help develop the website. But as far as marketing and getting that assistance, building the community, it's all been just on my own dime and in my own time. There was a time early where I got asked to be part of like their stream program, and that was for season 2 playoffs. I got that on they like release like every week, like who's on the Twitch schedule, and so it said like Chair League playoffs on it. I was like, hell yeah, this is gonna be something. Time comes around, we get no tweet about it, we get no mention about it, we get nothing. Who's looking at that tweet during the week? or who's looking at that image during the week? Nobody. No one's looking at the stream schedule unless you're tweeting about it, because that's what social media is. Social media is whatever you post about is how people get to it. If you don't post about it and you don't post it at the time that the event's happening, no one's going to know about it at all. So I looked more into that. What does that stream program mean? And you find out that the stream program gets you on the client of the Battle.net app. And I'm thinking, well, why do I even get asked to be part of that and have to sign these contracts when I don't get put on the Battle.net client? We had 3 hours, we had like 6 hours of content, which is good content, and it's not giveaway content, and that doesn't get put on there. And then you see people, and this goes to Twitch too. Sorry for the rant. I'm almost done.
It's okay. She just had a 30-minute rant yesterday, or last week.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
You're not even close to his.
So what it comes, and the last thing about this is like there is so much favoritism and like clicks in this organization, not just Blizzard, but just like the video game esports world, whatever you want to call it. There's so many clicks that it's sickening, because in Twitch's agreement to be a partnered streamer, you have to have 500 consistent viewers every time you go streaming. But you can go to anybody who's featured on the Blizzard Battle.net, and they have a featured Twitch account, and they only have 50 viewers. Now, that's an ended rant, but I do want to say that you can see the favoritism seeping through the cracks, and it's in volume.
Yeah, and I think unfortunately that will happen with any organization too. It's a lot of it's who you know too, right? Like you do see Blizzard does promote specific projects and such in the community, but they do obviously pick and choose. And like some of the things that they feature too, I've seen the Battle.net launcher too, like fairly frequently, some of these partnered streamer contents that you see, as well as some other podcasts and such too. And they're very like tied into the Blizzard kind of world, and I know that they know a lot of like the Blizzard staff and such too, and I'm sure that really helps. So maybe it is a conflict of interest thing, like you were mentioning before. Like, you know, now that they're starting kind of like their own league, obviously it's more of a pro scene league with real money being handed out, whereas Chair League's more of the amateur thing. Still, like it does seem strange to me that they haven't either promoted or reached out to you to partner a little bit more than they currently have, because you'd expect that from something that's as popular as Chair League has become, and it only seems to be gaining traction as we go along. Like the fact that you're now talking about, instead of like, I don't know if there's gonna be a season 2, now you're talking about like year-long roadmaps and everything as well too.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's actually an interesting point to. When you go on a journey, you know, whether it's down the street or you're doing a road trip, those first few decisions you make in what direction you go you can go in any direction. You can go this way, you can go that way, you can go this way. But either way, you know what your end goal is, right? But now when you're halfway through the trip, there's only one more. You've made all those tough decisions, and now you start seeing, okay, cool, we're on Highway 9. We have to go 88 miles on Highway 9 down that way. And so like this whole thing has kind of been, you know, it's just like it makes sense in my brain. Like I can see like a line graph, you know, and when you're just a point, you can go in 360 degrees any direction. But when you're a line, you know where you're going. So it's just like, it's kind of cool.
I can tell you're a software developer because I'm a software developer by trade as well. So a lot of the thing that you're talking about, any like the analogies you come up with, I'm like, yeah, it's very like analytical, very software developer thinking as well too.
Oh, the dot and the line analogy, a classic.
Just in general, you got very structured arguments and such too. I mean, who knows? Maybe 4 months from now, you're gonna be taking selfies with Mike Morheim and tweeting them out. You know, like, I think it's just a matter of getting that wedge in the door. They've obviously noticed that you're there. They talked about you at your organization at BlizzCon. I'm sure like they all know it exists and they know how popular it is. It's more just a matter of I think getting that wedge in the door and like starting to be kind of picked up as a project they want to help support as well. But I mean, who knows? Like maybe this isn't in their best interest. Like who knows what their internal thought process is too. Maybe they're very rigid about which community projects they do support. I know that like the Heroes of the Storm team isn't as big as say like, you know, the World of Warcraft team or even like the Hearthstone team per se, way, right? So maybe this is they just don't have the time to put into the community to support it like they should be. But I mean, fingers crossed. Hopefully, you'll get what you might need out of them, even if it's just a few free skins to give out along with your T-shirts. You know, like
Don't think that's happening after the rant.
But it is amazing how far just getting like a tweet or like a Facebook post or like just getting in the Battle.net launcher, be like, hey, like season 3 of Chair League's starting like in 2 weeks, sign up, and like just having that in the Battle.net launcher, how far that can go for a community project like Chair League, for instance, too, because it's their game. They have all of the eyeballs filtering in every time anyone opens the Battle.net launcher. They're going to see that there, right? So, I mean, how many times do I need to see the Forged by Fire like video trailer thing every time I open it up? Right. Like, it'd be nice to see some other things too. Yeah, and I do see other content. Like, I think yesterday I saw like the Core podcast was up there, and I was like, oh, cool. Like, they're promoting a podcast that I listen to. I thought it was pretty cool of them, and they do all the other like their streaming partners that you see periodically too, and they do give the shout outs and tweets to them as well. But it'd be nice to see Chair League getting some love along the way. So.
That would be amazing.
So do you have any way that like the community can support Chair League at all in terms of either like financially, like just or any other way too? Like do you have any volunteers or anything too to help you with like development or just moderating, like whatever you need?
Yeah, financially, I'm willing to take any check you guys want to give. You know, I got a high rent price I would like you guys to pay for. That'd be great. Yeah, I mean, this is a tough subject. I don't know if ego is the word for me to use, but I have pride, you know, and I've never felt comfortable with asking for a handout. I've never felt comfortable asking for a donation, but 11 months later and negative an amount of money I don't want to say, it's the first time that I've ever thought about, you know, does it really affect my pride to ask for, you know, support me through Patreon or one of those different models of donations, right? And I think really for me that the biggest support is being involved with the community. I'll manage. I'll figure out. I work every day, all day, whether it's on Chair League or doing contract software, just so that I can make sure Chair League sees it to tomorrow and I also see it till tomorrow. And so to me, the biggest support is help the community grow, participate in discussions, follow me on Twitter, play the game, you know, play in Chair League. And also when you see a Chair League Reddit post, like that's huge for me because there's a lot of people that go on Reddit and spreading awareness of Chair League and just getting that Reddit post, you know, one vote, like maybe not in the election does your one vote count, but on Reddit it super counts. Like getting that to the top of that feed is when I've had the most success. Like if we like a season 2 finals got to the top there with like 120 upvotes and we had 350 people watch season 2 finals, you know. And like that's how it works. That's just how the game is played. And so one thing I would just like to ask, like, you know, we have 6,700 something users on Chair League. Like, I would just ask for you guys to participate a little bit more in the community and help that. Like, where are you guys on Reddit? I know you found me through Reddit because that's the only place I post. So I would just like that community to step up a little bit and be like, hey, this is our community. Let's make it better.
From the monetary side of things, I think you're almost being a little too modest. And like it's a very noble way you're going about it, but I think personally that a Patreon, for instance, like ask for money through Patreon isn't like asking for handouts or anything like that. It's a way to support content or like a site.
Absolutely.
That and a lot of people out there too might be like, you know what, like I'd love to help support this. You see like a lot of podcasts have Patreon pages, a lot of community content creators, a lot of Twitch streamers have Patreon pages as well. It's a thing you can say like, hey, listen, Chair League's always going to be free, but if you want to help support it so that it makes it like, you know, lightens the financial burden on people who are footing the bill for this, and it's a good way for people to be able to do that. And then not only that, but like I'm a believer in if you're spending your time in this and it is something that's successful, like there's nothing wrong with you making some money on the side from it too to support this lifestyle. Hey, maybe it'll become popular enough you can quit your day job and you can run Chair League full time, right? Like I think that's the kind of thing that everyone would like to see. And well, I mean, well, sorry, I don't want to like decide your career path or like what you want to do for you, but it'd be nice to be able to have that kind of support and like know that that's there. And I personally don't think it's like asking for charity to do something. It's pretty much the same thing that Blizzard does, even for Heroes of the Storm. It's a free game. You don't have to spend a dime on it. But if you want to, you get some free skins, you get some extra heroes out of it. Well, not free skins because you're paying for it, but you get skins, heroes or whatever.
Pay
for
the
get
free
sim packs. It's just it's almost like that free to play model, right? Like where the people that want to support it can, but those that can't don't have to. So that's my personal take on it. And I'd love to see a Patreon page. I'm sure you'd get a ton of patrons, like even just right off the bat. And I'll upvote that if you mention it in Reddit. I'll upvote it and I'll make sure that everyone I know who's on Reddit does.
Absolutely.
As well, so.
While we're on topic, because it's actually something I've been talking for the last 2 months. This isn't like the first time it's come up with. Yeah. I've gone out to, meet so many people to ask, like, what would you do in this situation? Or, I've been trying to think of a business model for it forever, but and it's not for me to do that. It's not for me just to make money. It's because it sucks when something that you love doing is like killing you, you know what I mean? And so I just want it to be like, I want to patch the Band-Aid and I want to keep moving forward until a new hole springs up and I work to fix that one. Like that's like the solver in me wants to approach it like that. And one thing I've been tossing around, and originally I wanted to take it down a road where like you could treat it like Twitch, where you subscribe to teams instead of users, and when you can subscribe to a team, you're supporting them by playing, and you do the same kind of model Twitch has. You take some kind of percent from that, and so now it's like the community is saying like, yeah, we like this team, we want to see them do better. So you'd most likely see this in the pro and the Division 1 side of Chair League, where they would be experiencing that. But then I was just like, I don't know how realistic that is, because gamers are hard to understand. They will not pay for things that are required, but they will pay for things that are optional, and that is crazy to me. And like I study that and I look at how people react to things, So I think what I'm doing in the future is more, I don't want to charge for the league, because I do think that charging for the league would kill it. I mean, even if it like 20 teams out of, the 300 that play stay, that's not enough to make it, worthwhile to continue doing, because you kind of just killed the whole community aspect of what makes Chair League so fun. So that's never going to happen either. And one thing I am thinking about, and I'm going to test it with this holiday tournament coming up December 17th, is running a tournament, and do people want to play weekend tournaments? And now there's kind of this optional weekend tournament, which is going to cost money. So again, I'm going to decide what is the option or the route I want to take. What's the direction I want to drive down? Is it one where there are these like massive sponsored, maybe there's like a host of it, like Sony would run a tournament or something like that. And there's some like cool things about it I already have planned. I was gonna send it to you guys, but I didn't want to spoil the surprise before anything, because it's not all set in stone. But so I was gonna write a big email asking like, what would you guys rather do? And it's like an anonymous form or anonymous survey, I guess, where you just go, would you rather, let's say, there's 3 options. Would you rather pay through Patreon? Would you rather pay through weekend tournaments where you're guaranteed 3 games and you win prizes? Or would you rather pay not at all? You know what I mean? So I was going to send that out. Haven't really worked up the courage to send that mass email out to the email list there. But I want to see how the holiday tournament turns out before I send that one out, because if no one shows up to play a holiday tournament, even when there's prizes such as items on the website, and I even want to send out like a gift basket to people for who win it.
I know there's gonna be a T-shirt in the gift basket, right?
I can't tell you, my team has been practicing religiously for your tournament, and I was supposed to ask like an hour and 45 minutes ago before it even started, this podcast started, if that was still going to happen, and more details on that.
Yeah.
So
There's so much with it. Like I had to spoil one surprise, there are now unique cards you can collect on Chair League through your
wow.
draft screen. So like if you win season 4, you might get a holographic card that nobody else gets, right? And now that's a virtual side to the website than the gray t-shirts here, right?
Can I have both?
You gotta earn both, sir.
Well, you would get both if you won, so that's up to
Oh
you.
man.
Just gotta work harder.
And
You,
so
you know how
realistic.
competitive
I'm gonna
Shiz
be
is,
I
right?
am gonna be a slave driver now. You heard it.
I hope I didn't kill your
Oh,
team.
man.
No, you probably did, but that's okay. They'll be fine. They're nerds. They're used to the 24-hour marathon boot camp.
So one thing that kind of affects that, and sorry if I'm eating to any other time, but
No.
they're Blizzard just announced that they want to do like swaps in game, and I'm wondering if people would still rather draft on Chair League if there was something attached to it, right? And this is something I've been kicking around for a long time. The feature was just tough, and it also required design. It required me to implement it. It required me to plan it, and it's cool. I have like these graphics I would love to show, but I don't want to show. And when these holiday cards come out, it's gonna blow your brains off. Like it's cool. It's cool stuff. And if
Can't
it
wait to
works,
see it.
if
I'm
it
in.
wor- and you
I'm
just
in.
and you just get the card for participating this time around, like just for signing up, you get this card, right? So it's interesting if it drives people to rather use Chair League's draft tool than any other draft tool, because it's the only draft tool that you can be connected to in the entire world. Like there's no stats attached to any of these other draft tools. So if Chair League simply just gave you something that let you style your draft tool and show some, street cred, if you will, like, oh yeah, look at this, look at these cards over here. We got the
You got Tempest coming in with their summer regional global card and stuff like that.
exactly, something like that.
Oh
like
man,
if you could even make it,
intimidation factor.
like even like if I ever go to like down some kind of subscriber route, right? Just like Twitch emotes, maybe that's something where you get a card for subscribing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like thoughts, and it's all connected. I'm trying to wire everything all together.
Well, just like grade school, I've got a whole bunch of participation ribbons. I'm looking forward to my participation one because we're not going to be winning much on my team.
That's why you're from Canada.
Yeah, I was not nearly competitive enough for Shiz's liking. That was for sure when we play on the same team. So is there anything else in the future you want to talk about at all? I know like we've kind of covered a lot of things here, but is there anything else you wanted to say about Chair League before we move on to the next segment?
It became an LLC. I guess that's kind of past now. So it's like I am putting the resources into it to make it real because I do believe in it. I think the future of Chair League is going to be revolving around fitting in between something like an HGC and a quick match. And I think that's our 99% audience that I'm going to continue trying to capture. It's more people, right? Because not everybody, even if let's pretend one of you four were the best HOTS player in the entire world.
Oh, we already know who that is.
So it's
no
Shiz,
question.
right? Is it Shiz?
It is Shiz.
Let's say Shiz is the best. We know it. Everyone knows it. But he's like, listen, I have kids. I have a dog. I don't have time to and I have a regular job that I love doing. But just because I'm good at something doesn't mean I have to take it to that level, right? And so Chair League fits for everybody who just wants to sit down and play, And I originally wanted it to be the NBA, right? Like where I could dream that the Los Angeles Legion was versing the Chicago Bloodlust next weekend at the arena, something like that. But I think what it's really gonna shave into is filling that void between this is just quick match and holy crap, that's a lot of effort. So it's gonna fill that void for people who just want to play, just like you would imagine a beer league.
We do have a question in Twitch chat too, so I just want to put it to you there. I don't actually hear the news about this, but it says the question is the division placement change set in stone for next season? Like I guess our placement match is going away. Is that what's happening? And do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, there's some weirdness there's some weirdness around the placements, right? It's the same that happens in in Hero League, I would assume, where you might be versing someone who's already placed. But if not, then it's different. But placements didn't work out as planned, and we did that for 2 full seasons, and it just never really hit that what I thought it was going to be, where it was accurate. I mean, it was kind of close, but if someone didn't show up in your placement week, you got a free win, even though they might have been better than you and lost and put you in the division you deserve to be in. So that didn't happen. And placements is kind of just like an ugly place to be. One thing that's come up a lot is just let people choose what division they want to be. And I do think that's the easier solution. The large downside to that is when there's an odd number of teams per week in any of the divisions, a team's going to have to sit out. So now I have to make some sort of way for teams who are the odd, not always the oddball out. So maybe you're the odd this week, they're the odd if it happens again, and then the team even after that is the odd if it happens a third time in an 8 or 10 week season. So
yeah, division placement in general. Like, I mean, I play in a local beer hockey league too, and you're always gonna have the case, no matter what, that the top teams probably in each division maybe should be in the division above themselves or whatever. Maybe they miscast themselves as a Division 3 team when they should have been Division 2 team and such. Have you thought about that at all? I mean, it's always a challenge, even like
no, that's huge
in our beer league too. Like when do you move people up divisions if they've miscast themselves? Say.
So my team, and I'm so glad it happened to us because it painted a picture. So my team was in Division 3 for Season 2 when divisions came out, and we placed second after all 10. Wait, it was a 12-week season. It was super long. It was a 12-week season, and we placed second at the end of it. We lost in the first round of tournaments. Yet, because of the rule of how Chair League was working, we still got upgraded to Division 2. We held our own. We went like 2-1 in the first 3 weeks of Season 3. Sorry if I said 2. But then we just got destroyed. I think we only won one more game, and we went 3-5. And it's kind of like you kind of wish you didn't get forced to move up. So I'm going to remove that because and that's why no one's been swapped around, unlike last season where everybody got moved the day after everything ended. I want people to choose where they go. And are you cool in Division 3? If so, stay. Like, I think that's okay. I think teams will be honest enough, like, wow, we're kind of killing people in this division. Maybe give them a way, like hey, you won 4 games. You want to move up? And they're like, no, I think we're good. Or, oh, you lost 4 games. Want to move down? Or like, oh, we're getting pelted. Get us out of here. So more of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, one thing I noticed just with your general schedule, I'm not sure if it was just like the way that it shook out for our team or not, but it does seem like you almost have a bit of a ladder going. So we always seem to be scheduled against teams that are around our like even like placement within our division too. So a lot of our games are very competitive. It doesn't seem like we get like I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but the last place team in Division 3 wouldn't play the first place team in Division 3 necessarily, right? And that seems to have been working well for us. Is it kind of like a ladder system almost too when you do the scheduling?
You play people at your rating, and this is again another one of those like bottlenecks. And December 31st, I'm staying up all night trying to figure it out, right? While you guys are all drinking champagne, I'm sweating for January 11th, So for this one, it's interesting because the algorithm's been like crafted twice now. I think the first one was very like, just do it, right? And you kind of play the same teams over and over. But the second one takes all the teams within a range, and then they randomize them. So then you might play the same team again, but it's unlikely because when you lose and you win it, you go like this. And, so then you guys might win and lose again and come back, and now you have a chance to verse each other, if you can imagine it like that. But it's so the other thing that's kind of goofy, and there's been a couple forum posts about it as far as like, but this doesn't make any sense because we lose so far and teams pass us even though they're 3-1, but we're like 7-3 or whatever the scenario is, right? Because the weird thing about Chair League is it's an ongoing, everlasting thing where you can come at week 8 or you can come at week 1, and either way you're participating, right? And so one thing that I've considered, and we've seen it a couple times, is like just having a point score. So getting the 3 points, for a win. One thing I didn't want to do with this is I do like the rating system because I do think it's more accurate as far as who actually who did better in your division, right? Because if you're 4-4, no offense, I don't think you should be in playoffs. You didn't do that well compared to a team who went 4-0 in the same division. In the point scoring system, you guys would be equals, but really 4-0 means you have to beat a team at 1500, at 1512, 1524, and 1536 to get to 1548, right? And so like the math's there, and I get people just who want to just, I don't know if people want to slit my throat on a given week or something, but some people come crazy at me and being like, want to stab me. And I'm just like, dude, like, I don't know what I did to you personally. I'm just making a product that works for people who want to play the game,
I was really drunk that one time. It was a one-time thing.
That's the internet for you. Yeah, and the internet's going to find flaws, and people in general are going to find flaws in any system. There's no perfect way to handle it. I did notice you avoid using the word MMR, though. I'm guessing
what do I say, rating?
Rating, yeah. I was like...
Yeah, I've never...
That's such a toxic word, ever since...
and you can't use ELO either, even though that's what the algorithm is the same as League of Legends use. I don't know if they still use it or not, but it's the same algorithm. It's a same one they use in chess to say if you're a 2400 chess team or chess player, and or if you're a novice, 1200 chess player. So I mean, it works. Like, it does show the teams who dominate, right? And I even added that color system into the standings. And
I like it. It makes me feel pretty damn good.
It's nasty. When you look at Pro Division, you feel like Brawl's Deep is hot. You know what I mean? Like, they're the only orange team, and sorry, I don't even know where the screen is. Okay, they're the only orange team up here, and then like you would see purple is using like that orange, purple, blue, green standard. And they do so well that they don't even give the other teams the option to get purple. You know what I mean? Like, they're so many standard deviations higher than people that they don't let people even be within their range. And it's amazing. Like, I love that they are part of it. Like, they're a legend, you know what I mean? Like, they're a team that can't be beat. They have no losses.
Yeah. And well, I'll never be seeing that color on our team. We're definitely gonna be on the lower rounds, but that's okay by me. I'm just happy to be involved in this. So. Yeah, it's amazing how there's such a range of people and play styles and like competitiveness and everything too, from your weekend warriors and casuals like most of my team is to your tryhards like Shiz and Mystic, for instance, too, and then you got your super like borderline pro, or if not, going to be pro teams like Brawl's Deep too, right? So, well, that's awesome. I can't say enough good things about Chair League. We're gonna wrap up the segment and move on to the next pick. So we got lots to talk about. And we're just hitting the hour mark now too. So we do have a couple other things